Good day, everyone. My topic for today is about Chapter 3, the Probation Law of the Philippines. So, before we start, let me introduce myself. I am Dexter B. Renoco, third year criminology student. So, Chapter 3, the Probation Law of the Philippines. On July 24, 1976, Presidential Decree Number 968 was promulgated. This law applies to adult convicts and first-time minor drug offenders by virtue of RA 9165. Particularly in Section 70, the law, which is more popularly known as a Comprehensive Drug Acts of 2002, and the child in conflict with the law under Section 42 of RA 9344, or the Juvenile Justice Welfare Act of 2006. However, Presidential Decree Number 968 was subjected to amendment of other statutes. These mandatory laws are follows. So number 1, Presidential Decree Number 1257, and effective upon issuance on December 1, 1997, amended in Section 4. So, in Section 4, grant of probation. Subject to provision of the decree, the trial court may after it shall have a convicted and sentenced and defendant. Upon application by said defendant within the period of purporting an appeal, suspend the execution of the sentence and place the defendant on probation for such period upon such term and condition as it may deem best, and provide that no application for probation shall be entertained or granted if the defendant has an appeal from the judgment of conviction. Probation may be granted whatever the sentence is imposed, a term of imprisonment or a fine only. An application for probation shall be deemed a waiver of the right to appeal. So, number 2, Batas Pambansa. And effective upon approval by the President on June 13, 1980. Amended in Section 9 of Presidential Decree 968, Batas Pambansa 76, Section 9 are disqualified offenders. The benefits of this decree shall not be extended to those, number 1 is sentenced to serve a maximum term of imprisonment or more than 6 years and 1 day. Number 2, convicted of any offense against the security of the state. Number 3, who have previously been convicted by final judgment of an offense punished by imprisonment of not less than 1 month and 1 day, and or a fine of not less than 200 pesos. And last, who have been once on probation under the provision of this decree. Number 3, Presidential Decree Number 1990, promulgated on this October 5, 1985, and took an effect on January 15, 1986. After 15 days from the date of its publication in the Official Gazette, this law amended Section 4 and Section 9 of Presidential Decree 968 as mentioned in number 2, which is Batas Pambansa, Republic Act 10707, an act of amending Presidential Decree Number 968 as amended. This act, which is consolidation of Senate Bill Number 2280 and House Bill Number 4147, was passed by the Senate and House of Representatives on September 15, 2015 and September 14, 2015. Respectively, it is approved on November 26, 2015 by President Benigno Aquino III. Republic Act number 9344 or the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act of 2006, amended in Section 4 of Presidential Decree 968 to read as follows. So, Section 42, probation as an alternative to imprisonment. The court may, after it shall have convicted and sentenced a child in conflict with the law, and upon application, at any time place the child on probation in lieu of service of her or his sentence, taking into account to the best interest of a child. For this purpose, Section 4 of Presidential Decree number 968, so otherwise known as the Probation Law of 1976, is hereby amended accordingly. So, other law prescribing disqualification for probation is number 6, Omnibus Election Code of the Philippines. Disqualification for probation, even the penalty of imprisonment, is within the coverage of Presidential Decree number 968. So, in Section 4, in Section 264, penalties, any person found guilty of any election offense under the code shall be punished with imprisonment for not less than 1 year but not more than 6 years, and shall not subject to probation. So, number 7, Wage of Regionalization Act of Republic Act number 6727, Adjustment Section 12, any person, corporation, trust, firm, partnership, association, or entity which refuse or fails to pay any of the prescribed increase or in a wage rates made in accordance with this act shall be punished by a fine not less than 25,000 pesos, more than 100,000 pesos, or imprisonment not less than 2 years nor more than 4 years, or both fine and imprisonment of the discretion of the court, provided that any person convicted under this section shall not be entitled the benefits provided for under the probation law. So, number 8, Comprehensive Drug Act of 2002 or RA 9165. So, in Section 24, non-applicability of the provision of law for drug traffickers and pusher, any person for drug convicted trafficking and pushing under this act, regardless of the penalty imposed by the court, cannot avail the privilege granted by the probation law or Presidential Decree number 968 as amended. However, Section 57 and Section 70 of RA 9165 requires the applicability of the probation law. So number 9, probation and community service under voluntary submission program. Section 57, and community service under the voluntary submission program. A drug department who is discharged as rehabilitated by the DOH accredited center through the voluntary submission program, but does not qualify for exemption for criminal liability under Section 55 of this Act, may be charged under the provision of this Act, but shall place on probation and undergo community service in law imprisonment and or a fine in the discretion of the court. And number 10, probation or community service for the first time minor offender in law of imprisonment. So, Section 70, provision or community service for the first time minor offender in a law of imprisonment. Upon promulgation of the sentence, the court may its discretion place a cause under probation, even if the sentence provided under this Act is higher than that provided under existing law or on probation. So, one of the major goals of the government is to establish more enlightened and humane correctional system that will promote reformation of the offenders and thereby reduce the incidence of recidivism. So, what is recidivism? So, this is act of a person repeating an undesirable behavior after they experience negative consequences of that behavior. It also used to refer to the percentage of the former prisoners who are arrested for similar offense. So, the goal of the administration program set to achieve is to promote reinformation of a criminal offenders and reduce the incidence of, like I said, recidivism, and provide a cheaper or alternative to the institutional confinement for the first-time offender who are likely to respond to individual or community-based treatment program. So, that's all for today, ma'am. Thank you.